Hey, Scott Russell, let's talk this Israeli war. I watched this morning as they said, oh, it was a surprise attack from Hamas. And I'm like, surprise attack? The Mossad is the best secret service in the world, or supposed to be. And they don't know that there's hundreds of rockets being amassed there by Hamas to be shot. I mean, give me a break. It's like this whole thing's just another distraction. Unfortunately, it's a war that's going to cost lives and devastate people's livelihoods and families. But how else are they going to get out of Ukraine? I suspect that it's a great thing to take away from the fact that they're losing in Ukraine or lost in Ukraine. How do they exit there? It'll just be Israel will be escalated to such a degree that the world will be focused on that, and Ukraine will just fade off into nothing. And they need another war because they're feeding inflation to break the US and the world economy. So the war is a great thing for them to put through whatever they want. I suspect, I don't know enough of what's going on in Israel, but I know Netanyahu was under a lot of trouble. I believe he was under investigation for corruption. There was protests that we'd shared videos of in Israel. Now all of a sudden Netanyahu's the war president. So I mean, desperate men do desperate things. I'm not saying Netanyahu made this happen, but certainly a convenient. So, war in Israel. We talked a year ago, predicted this, that it was coming, because the next thing was going to be an escalation in the Middle East. I believe Iran, we're going to see pulled in. Turkey is going to get involved here somehow because it's biblical in many ways. And, you know, the Bible talks about in the end there'll be wars and rumors of wars. Well, we've always had that, but this is really an escalation of that. The other thing the Bible talks about is where it says men's hearts will fail them for fear of what's coming on them. I think we're starting to see that, where people are looking, there's no hope in them. I mean, in the past, there's a little bit of hope somewhere people can rally around. Here, the world is just falling apart. And so men's hearts are failing them. Men's livelihoods are failing them for fear of what's coming. It talks about in the Bible how they will say peace, peace, and then sudden destruction. I think with all this war junk and all the dramas that they're doing, there will be a time where they'll start to say peace, peace. They will rise up a figure and say this man has brought peace and you know, he's the guy we need to all rally to, an antichrist. The Bible talks about this sort of stuff. And I think the sudden destruction will come after that. So it's a time to stay focused on the fact that they're unstitching our world. They are going to destroy our economies. The US dollar, the Australian dollar, the pound, all the dollars around the world are going. The CBDC is coming in. Excuse me. And they are keeping drama and craziness just alive because they have to. The globalists, the World Economic Forum, has to work in the background to make sure this sort of stuff's happening. And stay focused. Don't get pulled into it. I mean, be aware of it. That's going on. It's there. But stay focused on what you're doing. Prepare yourself. I mean, I've talked about that in other videos, because when things go bad, if you've prepared and you're aware of that, then it's just going to give you a little bit of slack. The pressure is going to be immense. So for me, it's a time to know God. It's a time to draw aside in God. Yes, I do expect an escalation, probably in the Middle East. I personally think we're going to see more of that. I think we'll see Iran pulled in. We'll see maybe some of Turkey. Something will eventuate there, because they're biblical things that need to happen. So, yep. Before the US presidential election of November 2024, I think we will still see the collapse of the US currency. And I think they're going to try to aim that so that they will somehow step in and affect the elections. I don't know if there's some sort of hidden law that says if there's a war or a currency collapse, you don't need an election, you can put the election off. I don't know if they can do that. If they can, they will. I think that the last thing they need is Trump to get in, because Trump is a nationalist. Trump will do things for America. But I want to say I believe Trump will get in. I think there will be a disaster of sorts, and somehow Trump will get in and delay what their plans are for the time that he's in there, the term that he's there. So things to watch. I'm not sharing Israeli videos much because I think it's just a distraction, as terrible as it is. I'm trying to watch in the background. What are they doing in the background? Trying to slip through while the war's on. What are they trying to change? What are they trying to get people to see and do, or not see and not do? And so stay calm, look back, look in the background, step back. This is not the end. It's certainly leading towards it. But yeah, we're going to see a lot more of this wars and rumors of wars. So it's a good time to know God. It's a good time to know where God is in your life and where you're going with that, because it's, I think we're going to see a lot more turmoil. So thing to watch, my opinion, the US and what they're going to try to shove through in the US, because underneath all of this, they're going to try to hide the fact that they're escalating the collapse of the US currency. I think we probably are going to see more of a war in the Middle East that the US won't be able to be as involved with because of their financial situation. Not there yet, but once things collapse there. So I think America may not be as involved in the Middle Eastern conflict, and we're going to see an escalation from the Arab nations when the US is not involved. That may not be now, but I think that'll be down the pipeline a little bit, because the US just won't have the financial resources to be able to do it. And I think the US people are burning out on war. They're getting sick of the globalist leaders shoving billions, trillions, whatever, of dollars off to wars. When you look at the videos of the US, they're collapsing from the inside out. They're imploding. The homelessness on the streets, the massive inflation and things. So, and actually the Bible talks about, I think it's Revelation 6:6, the different horses. And I think one of the horses it talks about is, paraphrasing, it's something like a bag of gold will buy a loaf of bread. It's not those words, but it's along those lines, that a day's wages will buy, enough barley to make a loaf of bread. So it's a lot of people believe that's a reference to inflation and how that horse will bring inflation. And we're going to see that for sure, inflation. I do believe they're going to run those parallel currencies for a time, CBDC, US dollar, and then they will collapse the dollar and you'll have the CBDC. But we're going to talk some more on that shortly anyway. But just wanted to get in on the Israeli conflict. Stay focused. Don't get distracted. There's going to be lots more drama. Stay focused on preparing your heart, preparing what God has for your life, and walking in the fullness of that and preparing for what lies ahead. Let's talk again soon.